What is going on to all my Raised by Wolves fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again, breaking down the Season 2 finale of HBO Max's Raised by Wolves, Episode 8, titled Happiness, an episode in which we see and learn the real mission that grandmother was in. We see that mother is in a very complicated situation by the end of this episode, and speaking of complications, Marcus, upside down, blood on Lucius, so much to break down here in this review, and we're so excited to do so here in this spoiler discussion. But before we dive into it all, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, we are building something special here, and I want you to be a part of it. So if you love early movie reviews, TV reviews, and live streams, well, make sure you're subscribed and you're hitting that notification bell. As you all can see on the screen now, if you enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and also share this review to anyone and everyone you know that loves Raised by Wolves just as much as we do. But more importantly, once you've seen the finale, what did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I got a couple questions for you all. Number one, let's focus on this finale. Pros, cons, favorite moments, least favorite moments. Were you ultimately satisfied? Were you underwhelmed by the finale? And then on a bigger scale, let's talk about the season 2 as a whole. Favorite episode, least favorite episode, favorite character arc. What were some plots that didn't really add up to you all? And then the big question I have for you, between season 1 and season 2, which is your favorite? And of course, what do you hope to see in a season 3 of Raised by Wolves? Let's talk about it all in the comments below. So before I give you all my brief thoughts on the episode, my overall thoughts of the season, let me take the time to thank every single one of you all for supporting these reviews for the last 8 weeks. There are some incredible content creators that have been covering this show for the last 8 weeks, as have I, and I'm a friend of one of them, Gil from One Take, big fan of his. I've loved his breakdowns, and everyone else that covers it has done a great job of doing so. But again, the fact that you all have come over to the channel, liked the reviews, shared the reviews, and I'm telling you all, the comments have been fantastic. Some of the theories and predictions you all had were slightly better than what we got in the show, if I'm being honest with you all. But seriously, from me to you, it means a lot that you all supported these videos. And of course, we're going to cover a lot more shows, especially with me being a big fan of HBO and the HBO Max brand. So expect more reviews. But again, I just want to thank you for the support. Let's break it all down and get into my quick thoughts before we break down the episode. I gotta say, I've seen that episode. I'm about 30 minutes removed, processed my thoughts like a machine would do, and I gotta say I'm a little bit indifferent with this finale. There are some moments we're gonna highlight, the mother and number 7 being in space, visually stunning, but a little anticlimactic. We get the true nature of grandmother, which was a big reveal, and we kind of, the question was asked for me a couple weeks ago, can we trust her? A lot of us like me did, but we'll talk about her and ultimately what happened to mother, the religious stuff going on with Marcus, the reverse of Jesus on the cross, but him on the tree of life, and coming back, rising, and his disbelief in Saul and not getting Saul, the reveal there. We'll talk about that. But overall, like I said, I felt a bit underwhelmed. There are some positives to take away, but I think some of the plots, some of the character moments just didn't ultimately play out well for me personally in this finale. But again, we'll break it all down, but go ahead and share your thoughts of the finale in the comments below. But let's get into it here as we open the episode with a saddened Campion who says his goodbye to Vrille as the serpent's still at large. Now, I hope that Vrille finds a way back into season 3. They can reprogram her. I mean, Mother even said machines can't die, they just shut down. So I'm hoping that they can revive her. But if they don't, which I believe they will, I really enjoyed Vrille. You all know how I feel about episode 5. I'll share my favorite episodes and favorite characters in this video, but I enjoyed that character. Again, knowing where she came from, her relationship with Decima, how that played out, the killing spree she went on, but then the friendship and relationship and the love that ultimately grew from Campion for this machine was something that was very fascinating to me, and I really enjoyed that narrative that we got with Vrille. And again, fingers crossed that she'll be back for season 3, but if she is gone, I really enjoyed the character. But let me know your overall thoughts on the character for the season and how you think that character could be brought back for season 3. Let's talk about that in the comments. As we move on to Marcus gets to talk to grandmother and vows that his days and believe it in Saul are no longer there. And by the end of this show, maybe he'll be his own believer in himself and what he has become now. But very interesting to see that arc from the character, knowing where Marcus started off, where he ended up believing, now not believing. Very interesting character arc there. But again, we'll talk about Marcus a little bit later in this review. But cutting back into the conversation, Father learns that Marcus is now involved. Of course, he's not a fan of that, but he's also not a fan of this new idea of the transplant, from the veil being removed from grandmother, being placed on mother. I said I didn't think that was going to be a good idea, and me and Father were on the same page here, because we see with grandmother ultimately why she wanted to give up that veil. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but moving on to the next points here, the veil is removed, and even though we saw grandmother on the poster this entire season, we finally get to officially see her in action, removed from the veil. Very beautiful woman, but a woman, or I should say a machine, with some very bad intentions, and she has her mission that we'll get into. But getting back into it all, the veil is placed on Mother, and her program seems to still be intact, but she is now ready to take on her enemy. Again, very interesting concept, very interesting way to open up the episode, but we're going to get into the juicy stuff here as we cut to a very hot topic in the last few weeks, and particularly last week, with the whole situation with Tempest's baby. And again, a lot of great comments, no disrespectful comments by people, but a lot of people felt like I was maybe being insensitive to Tempest. Like I said in my last week's review, I completely understand her position of how she felt about the baby, how she was obviously, was I don't want to say the word because, it gets flagged on YouTube, but what happened to her is very, problematic. And obviously I understand where the character's coming from. What I had an issue with was the writing of how we got to that point and how we went from loving the baby, not loving the baby, giving it up to the creature, and all that stuff just to me could have been handled better. So that was my issue with it, versus like, oh, I don't understand why she doesn't love the child. I don't understand. That wasn't my issue. It was more of the writing that bothered me. But we get back into Tim's baby, who her and Hunter have the baby at this point, and they learn that by feeding on this creature that it's altered the baby's body chemistry, and they grant permission to allow the machine to perform surgery on the child, which we'll talk about the de-evolution, the plan that grandmother had in place. But again, I just wanted to kind of let it out there known that I understood Tempest's position, and I definitely sympathize with the character. I just felt like the character's writing and development was very kind of quick and kind of lacking in that department, and even more so in this episode with how things kind of played out. Y'all gotta admit, you all might disagree with me, but I feel like the children have been very much underwhelming in this season. Besides Campion and Paul, everyone else, Hunter, Tempest, Vita, a lot of those characters, Holly, to me are just very underwhelming. So we'll get into that a little bit later on my overall thoughts, but let me know what you all think about this situation with the baby at hand. Cut to number 7 on the hunt. We see that number 7 is chasing Campion, and it appears that Campion might be meeting his final moments, but of course, in comes Mother saving the day. And I have to say, visually speaking, it was incredibly beautiful to see Mother and the number 7 serpent in space. The visual effects was very on point, very gorgeous. As we know, this show always gives us the beautiful sci-fi imagery, but it was anticlimactic in regards to how the fight took place. Very quick, very, and I know the show isn't like all action heavy. This isn't an action show. It's a very thought-provoking sci-fi, discussions that are being had, but I just wanted more. I wanted more from this scene as we see her ultimately take out the serpent, just lets out her deathling blow with the scream. It lands on Earth, and we assume that it's dead, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, just focusing on that moment, how did you all feel about the scene? Again, I thought it was beautiful. I just wanted more. Again, I didn't want like this Super Saiyan intergalactic battle back and forth, but I just wanted a little bit more of the stakes. I wanted a little bit more time in that moment. Of course, her emotions are gone. She's on attack mode. She's a killer machine at this point, but I just wish the fight was a little bit more exciting, a little bit more entertaining for me personally, as we get this Mortal Kombat moment as she finishes the serpent by sticking her hand in his eye, taking out her brain. And in this moment is where Campion's trying to express his frustration after losing Vrille, and unfortunately the veil on, Mother can't be the mother that she wants to be for him because she's emotionless at this point, and she's not able to be there for Campion. And this kind of speaks to Campion not really caring for Mother a little bit later in the episode. But again, let's talk about the scene. Did you like the way that the serpent went out. Again, we'll know that the serpent kind of grew into something else, but let's talk about the serpent and the scene. Did it live up to your expectations? Let's talk about that in the comment section. New plans at hand. As father predicted, mother isn't ready to remove the veil and isn't coming home and wants grandmother to take her place for the time being and wants the children to familiarize herself with the relic that she found on Marcus, because there are further threats ahead. Underground, the trees, there's a lot of threats on this tropical zone. She wants the children to be ready for what's to come. As we see the children meet their new mom and grandmother as father fills them in on the threats at hand, and they actually show them what happened to Sue. Whew, the visuals of that scene to me made my skin crawl, because just seeing that particular illustration, that hologram of the person becoming a tree, and just imagining Sue going through that was like, made my skin crawl. And I have to just say it now before I forget it later on. The body horror in this season has been fantastic. From obviously the Vrille killing everyone, Sue transforming to the tree, this moment here, the body horror has been on point. And I'm a horror fan at heart, so I love me sci-fi and horror in one mission there. It was fantastic to see. But let me know what you all thought of that visual hologram of becoming a tree. Did it creep you out? Because it definitely did me. Moving on to this mysterious character, cutting to attacking and wearing the punishment helmet. And mother's under the impression that it's Marcus that did this, and we know it's not him. We find out who that mysterious character is a little bit later, as we see Paul and Marcus having a conversation about this recent discovery of a signal from underground. And we see that the serpent, who we thought was dead, has now transformed into that tree of life. It's a circle of life, as we see with the serpent kind of evolving to the tree, which we know plays a big part into the end of this episode. Cutting to a little bit of celebration time. We see that everyone is now celebrating in the form of fireworks with the news that the serpent is dead, but things aren't over quite yet. As we see, young Vita has a firework. She finds a relic of her own, but grandmother, again, they did a good job of kind of giving us that 180. You see grandmother looking out for Vita, taking the relic and having the conversation with father, and she's starting to gain their trust. But she's good. She's good at deception and manipulating people, because we'll get to her mission here in a second. But you see, from my Game of Thrones fans, winter is coming with the battle between mother and the serpent. She unfortunately broke the defenses, and in comes the snow to the ground. So now the temperature is lowering. As we see, grandmother starts to create the bond with the children, and we see that they're starting to kind of like grandmother. But again, she's good at deception, ladies and gentlemen. As we cut to Lucius gets his revenge. As Marcus makes his way underground, Lucius shoots him and knocks Marcus out. Meanwhile, we see Paul and Campion having a bit of a moment together as they're talking about grief and grieving the ones they have lost. Again, I wanted more from Paul and Campion this season. I wish we would have gotten, we've had the scenes, like literally scenes of them, but I just wanted that, because I've been predicting for the longest they're going to butt heads eventually, but they're still good friends. They're brothers essentially, but I like that more smaller, intimate, emotional moment between the two characters. But cut back to Lucius, who is ready to punish Marcus, and it is him that was the one that stole the torture helmet. He now wants his punishment done upon Marcus. He is under now of the control of Soul. He now hears voices. He believes he's the true prophet, and he's going to go ahead and punish this false prophet in Marcus. He hangs him on the tree of the serpent upside down, and again, the biblical undertones in the show, the imagery is very similar to Jesus on the cross, but obviously a false god, and Marcus holding him upside down. Lucius has heard the voice and believes again that he is the one that's going to lead on the people and be the prophet, and he's going to sit there and wait till Marcus's eventually dies, and we'll talk about that resurrection of Marcus here in a second. Winter has come as grandmother comes up with a plan to feed the children, which is very important how she wants to do that with the cold approaching. Mother looks at them and can see the bond between grandmother and father. She also sees the children, like Tempest feels like she's betraying mother, but we see at that point of the episode that, Campion, after mother wasn't able to confront him and comfort him, I should say, with the loss reveal, he could care less if he ever sees mother. And we know mother's emotions gets the best of her, and as she's starting to get emotional, she wants to remove the veil to protect her children. Unfortunately, grandmother's plan has now taken place as the veil is overtaking her, and we see that grandmother's plan is now in motion. As we cut to grandmother, who has found mother, who is at this point powerless, we see that the veil is keeping her powers contained, and this is where we get the big moment. Remember when I asked you, can we trust her? Well, we can't. Let's get into her big plan in motion here, as the mission is to devolve the children, not to assure the safety of humans, because they're humans. They haven't learned from their mistakes. As she gets into her logical decision, as mother threatens her, we see that grandmother ultimately shuts her down, and she's now locked in this simulation. So again, she did a good job of leading me on, thinking that she was going to be a good person. She was going to protect assure the safety of humankind. That's not the case. She has been doing this before. She has been part of this cycle of the tree and the serpent and people eating upon the tree and ultimately devolving, because the humankind hasn't evolved into what they ultimately want them to become. So they want to restart the cycle, and they're going to do it again with the people on Earth. So I love that reveal, because I didn't see it coming personally, and I enjoyed that moment. But let me know what you all thought about the mission at hand. Did you think that mother was going to be betrayed by grandmother and ultimately, betrays father and the children? Let's talk about that in the comment section. As we see, grandmother is spreading her plan to others. She gives this new game to the woman that was able to fuel her and bring her back to life. And people, we know when we're stuck at home, especially in the cold winters, there are people all excited. Oh yeah, I love this new game. And this is the seeds being planted for the de-evolution of the humankind. As we end the episode with Marcus, Lucius goes back to check on him and to see if he's dead. He removes the mask and he appears to be dead. As Lucius turns around, he sees that Marcus is gone, and he looks up, blood dripping on him, very symbolic to the Bible, blood dripping from him, and we see Marcus floating in the air as this new prophet of a sorts, his own version of Saul. He has his own abilities. He's been brought back to life. He's been resurrected by this tree of life, and he's now this new entity. So what does that mean for season 3? We'll find out. But like I said, just kind of breaking it down, positively speaking, I did have a good time with that big reveal with grandmother and the de-evolution of people and not being able to trust her. I did like the idea of, again, Campion having the emotional moment with Paul. And again, I hope we get Vrille in a season 3. And as far as season 3 concerns, how will mother ultimately get out of this simulation? Will it be father that's going to ultimately put 2 and 2 together and realize that grandmother isn't someone to be trusted and stumbles upon her? Who's going to be that character to save her? Is it going to be this new powered up Marcus, which again, seeing what that looks like in season 3 would be interesting. And I guess it's safe to say that Sue is gone, right? She's no longer going to be available to come back. Or is she? With this newfound power, with the tree of life resurrecting Marcus, will he be able to somehow, some way bring Sue back? Let's talk about that. But overall, as the season goes, favorite episode was episode 5. Favorite new character was Vrille. I still can't go without saying the relationship and the chemistry between mother and father is still the best thing in the show. The most underwhelming aspect is still the children. I do appreciate the conversations that Paul and Campion had in this season, but I still feel like the other children, whether it be Hunter, Tempest, and now with this baby, what's going to happen there? As we see again the skin of Campion, the process has started, but I feel like a lot of the children has not gotten a lot to do in the last 2 seasons, and I hope they can change that and give them a little bit more, better writing, better things for them to do, and hopefully we could see what a season 3 looks like, hopefully in the next year or so. So if I were to choose, I have to say season 2 is probably my favorite out of 2, because episode 5 and 6 were some of my favorite episodes of the entire series. And I have to say the build-up was really there, even though I feel like the ultimate finale didn't live up to the build-up, because I still think it's set up for season 3. But I have to say I think season 2 was just a little bit more, I was more invested in the narrative than I was in season 1. So that's just my personal take on it. Again, let me know overall thoughts of the finale, pros, cons, highs, lows, deeper meanings, Easter eggs. Which season did you prefer more? And of course, what do we hope to see in a season 3 if we get that by the time of next year? Let's talk about it all in the comments. Again, I can't thank you enough for watching these reviews, supporting these reviews. This channel is filled with more reviews to come, whether it's Marvel, DC, Star Wars. I love sci-fi, so give me all the sci-fi recommendations in the comments. comments for new sci-fi shows to keep an eye out for. I cover Hulu, Amazon, and so much more, so expect so many more reviews on this channel. Again, thank you for watching the review. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, comment your thoughts below. Come and join the community, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Hope you all enjoyed the review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to the channel. Check out more other content. Again, thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next video.